Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo 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 Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kalina Soja Buddhas. Kalina Soja Purusa Yusabi. You have that one? No, you don't. But you have that verse. Okay. Kalina Soja Purusa Yusabi. Pravritta Yogena Viruddha Bodha. Swayam Tadanta Hridaye Vabatam. Apasyata Pasyatayanna Purvam. Kalena. In due course of time. Saha, he, Ajaha, the self-born Brahma, Purusayusa, by the duration of his age, Abhipravitta, being engaged, Yogena, in meditation, Viruddha, developed, Bodha, intelligence, Swayam, automatically, Tadantaridaya, in the heart, Avavatam, manifested, Apasyata, saw, Apasyata, did see, Yat which, which, not, Purvam, before. Translation. At the end of Brahma's 100 years, when his meditation was complete, he developed the required knowledge, and as a result, he could see in his heart the Supreme within himself, whom he could not see before with the greatest purport. The Supreme Lord can be experienced only through the process of devotional service, and not by one's personal endeavor in mental speculation. The age of Brahma is calculated in terms of divya years, which are distinct from the solar years of human beings. The divya years are calculated in Bhagavad Gita 8:17. Sahasra yuga paryantam aharyat brahmano vidu. Brahma's 1 day is equal to 1,000 times the aggregate of 4 yugas, calculated to be 4,300,000 years. On that basis, Brahma meditated for 100 years before he could understand the supreme cause of all causes, and then he wrote the Brahma Samhita, which is approved and recognized by Lord Chaitanya, in which he sings Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami. One has to wait for the mercy of the Lord before one can either render service unto him or know him as he is. Om Jnanatimanasya Yanandana Sakya Shakshur Minitam Yana Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kanamyam Dadati Swaparantikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So a few days ago the question came up when the Brahma Samhita was spoken. And Srila Prabhupada answered it in this purport, saying that Brahma first, for 100 years of his time, was meditating, and then he had full knowledge of the Supreme. And then he spoke the Brahma Samhita, because the Brahma Samhita is giving us full knowledge of the Supreme. It was a manuscript, as we heard, which was discovered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in South India. Because in those days there were no printing presses, so it wasn't that books were everywhere. Rather, manuscripts were being kept in temples, and they would have a collection of scripture. And then some Brahmanas would have some individual collection as well, but it was, this particular manuscript was very rare. It was not really common at all, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found that in South India, where Brahmanas were reciting it, and he became so ecstatic. He danced in great ecstasy, and he had it copied, and he brought that copy with him and gave it to Ramananda Roy. And as soon as Ramananda Roy came, all the devotees were, "What did you get?" And it became public property. Just like in the time of Srila Prabhupada, when there would be a letter coming from Prabhupada, addressed to a particular devotee, that devotee would get barely the time to read his personal letters. All the others were already like right behind there. Okay, show us that letter. It was a letter of Prabhupada was public property, even if it was addressed to an individual. So in the same way, as soon as Ramananda Roy got this Brahma Samhita, immediately all the devotees copied it. And it spread like anything. It was a thing, everybody had to have it, the Brahma Samhita. So it is after that the Brahma Samhita became really famous. Now, the Brahma Samhita is particularly establishing Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. First of all, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satsitananda Vigraha Anadira Div Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. It established Krishna as Parameshwar. Parameshwar, Srila Prabhupada in his introduction to the Srimad-bhagavatam is writing that the purpose of Srimad-bhagavatam is to establish Param Satyam. And not only to establish Param Satyam, the absolute truth, but to establish that the absolute truth is Parameshwar, is the Supreme Controller, the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada explains, he said, when you say absolute truth, it's not clear what it is. But when you say, when you're establishing that the absolute truth is Parameshwar, when you say Parameshwar, then you say Supreme Controller. When you speak about a controller, you speak about a personality. Therefore, the purpose is to establish that the absolute truth is that the Supreme Absolute Truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And that is the Brahma Samhita. The Brahma Samhita begins there. It begins right there to establish the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he who has no other cause. Here in this verse, Lord Brahma is referred to as Aja, the one who has not taken birth. Alright, Lord Brahma did not take birth in the normal sense, in the sense that he was in the womb and so on. Lord Brahma appeared on a lotus flower, which came from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. However, in a sense, one could say that Lord Brahma is not really Aja. He's not really unborn, because he appeared from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So later, when the pastime takes place that Lord Rama is stealing the calves and the cowherd boys, then later Krishna takes the place of all these cowherd boys that have been placed and calves that have been placed in a cave. And then what happens is Lord Rama is bewildered. They were in the cave and now they're here. Did he take them back? Went back to the cave? No, they're still in the cave. Came back, but they're also here. How is this possible? Then all these cowherd boys and calves that were with Krishna changed their form and became Vishnumurtis. And all these Vishnumurtis, all these forms of Vishnu had 4 arms and indicated that actually Krishna. And Krishna was the origin of all these Vishnumurtis, which then merged in the body of Krishna to show that Krishna was the original cause of all these Vishnumurtis. And the Vishnumurtis were the cause of all the cowherd boys and all the calves. So, in this way, Lord Rama could understand, Krishna is the cause of all causes. He realized that thoroughly. And then, Lord Rama started praying, and his prayers were a little bit manipulative, because he was saying, since I appeared from the lotus flower, we could say that you are both my father and the mother. You're both my father and my mother, because I appeared from you. And a mother never takes offense, even when her child passes stool and urine while being on the lap. So in this way, Lord Rama was trying to manipulate Krishna, because he had just stolen his calves and cowherd boys, and was thinking, I'm in trouble. And he was trying to talk himself out of it. So this is how you see how the pastime is unfolding. And so Krishna is the cause of all causes. If you want a complete chronology of when the calves were stolen, if that was before the Brahma Samhita was spoken and so on, we do not really read about that. Right? But alright, so there's 2 options. When Lord Rama stole the calves and cowherd boys, 2 options. One is that it was before he spoke the Brahma Samhita, before he had the full knowledge. Or the other one is he did have the full knowledge, but then again the illusory energy is so powerful that still he again became bewildered for a moment. And that may occur, that may happen. Because the living entity is by nature infinitesimal. That means very small. And the Supreme Lord is by nature feeble, which means all-pervading. So the Lord is everywhere, and the living entity is very tiny and very localized. A very small part and parcel, but carrying the same qualities of the Supreme Lord. So somehow or other then, the living entity is able to get full knowledge of the position of the Supreme Lord, but the illusory energy of the Lord is very powerful, and because it is a reflection of the Lord's spiritual energy, which is unlimited, therefore the material energy is also very extended and very unlimited. Therefore, muyanti and surya. Therefore, even saintly personalities can become bewildered. Therefore, one should never think, now I am transcendental, now I don't need to chant Hare Krishna anymore. As long as we chant Hare Krishna, then automatically we'll refresh our remembrance of Krishna. We'll refresh our relationship with Krishna. So every day we are refreshing our relationship with Krishna. Every day we are refreshing that knowledge that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if we don't refresh it, then after a little while, it sort of goes a little in the background of our consciousness, and if we just stop chanting altogether, then it goes more and more into the background. And we know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, but yet we forget. So therefore, we must always continue this process of refreshing our relationship with Krishna from moment to moment, because the illusory energy is very powerful. The question is sometimes raised, but why is it that we always have to chant if Krishna consciousness is natural? Shouldn't be that at one point it just, okay, we understand, we somehow or other got involved with the material energy, got involved in an unnatural alliance with the material energy, developed unnatural attachment to the material energy, but then once you get purified, you should be purified. Isn't it so? Yes, it is so. It is true that the eternal, liberated, living entities, they don't need to chant. They're not depending on any activity. Their love for Krishna is eternal, and they cannot fall down. However, one should not test that. One shouldn't think like that. One should never think, now I'm transcendental to the material energy, and therefore even the liberated souls are still chanting. And not only are they chanting to counteract Maya, that's not the reason why they're chanting. They're chanting because chanting the glories of Krishna is most ecstatic. Srimati Radharani herself is chanting. She is churning butter from yogurt, and then she catches herself chanting and then feels embarrassed. Oh my God, what if somebody heard this? Chanting the name of Krishna. Oh dear. What conclusions will they draw from that? But it's hard to stop chanting. So for her, it's not like, okay, chanting for philosophical reasons. I have to chant because otherwise I become captured by the illusory energy. Krishna Bhayam Gai Bhogavan Chakara Nikitisthamaya Tarajapatiyahaya. In the Prema Vivarta from Jagadananda Pandit, it is said that as soon as you get involved with the material energy, then Maya can take over. And then Naham Prakasa Sarvasa Yoga Maya Samapitaha. Then we become covered by the illusory energy, by this Yoga Maya. So we must be careful. But that is for us, because we are currently conditioned. We're conditioned, and therefore our tendency is to go towards Maya. But when we are liberated, then that tendency is gone. And there's no question of being Maya. And then one is not dependent on sadhana bhakti. So therefore it is the weak devotees that must be strict in spiritual practices. The strong devotees, they don't have to be so strict. They don't depend on it in the same way. But the weak devotees very much depend on it, on our sadhana, on our spiritual practices. If we become slack in that, or on Vaishnava etiquette. Vaishnava etiquette means remaining respectful to all the Vaishnavas. If we take the relationships with the Vaishnavas casual, and if we become proud, then we set ourselves up for fall down. The saying, pride comes before the fall, is very relevant in Krishna consciousness. One must therefore see others as superior, as greater devotees. I was reading into Tribhuvanat this morning that even Srimati Radharani, when she sees someone else engaging in devotional service, then she thinks immediately, oh, this devotee is greater than I am. This devotee is doing such wonderful service. In this way, This is Vaishnava etiquette, this is Vaishnava culture. This is the spirit of the Vaishnava, to always look everywhere, to say, oh, this devotee is doing amazing service, amazing. This devotee is greater than I am. So, one should practice this as part of the sadhana. Looking around and just going around the room and just looking and thinking, yes, this one is greater than I am. But see why? Not just saying it. Hollow glorification will not do it. No, we have to see actually what they're doing. We have to see their dedication. That this person is so dedicated actually. Is really like doing all this service for such a long time, and it's not easy. I could never do that. Therefore this devotee is greater than I am. In this way we should see. And when we see the Vaishnavas like that, then we'll turn to them for shelter. Very natural. Then we'll naturally think the devotees, yes, they are my only shelter. Because we see they're greater than I am. But if we don't see that they're greater than I am, then we think, why do I have to hang out with these people? It's a great process. The philosophy is fantastic. Prabhupada, oh yes, Prabhupada is the most amazing. Prabhupada is the greatest personality. We must, of course, we glorify Prabhupada, and there is no limit to glorifying Prabhupada. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was glorifying Haridas Thakur, another exceptional personality, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke as if with 5 mouths, and he couldn't stop speaking. He just kept on speaking and speaking about the glory of Haridas Thakur, and he just couldn't stop. So we can do the same thing when we speak about Srila Prabhupada. I felt like that on Prabhupada's appearance day. My time was up too quick, and I had to stop talking, and I had only started, and there was so much more to say. But it wouldn't be proper glorification of Srila Prabhupada if we wouldn't glorify his followers. If we would only glorify Srila Prabhupada, then our glorification of Srila Prabhupada would be incomplete, because we would not appreciate that Srila Prabhupada can transform people. So Prabhupada is the greatest pure devotee, and everyone else is just a neophyte and trying and so on, would be actually minimizing Prabhupada, because we would not credit Prabhupada with the power of transforming his followers. So obviously Prabhupada has the power to transform his followers. That's what he was doing. That's the essence of his whole, and not even just his followers, even transforming those who are not his followers, what to speak of his followers. So Prabhupada is glorified by also glorifying his disciples, his followers, and in that way we should see the good qualities that Prabhupada has created in people, and that they are transforming and changing. In this way, we can understand, we should really recognize the glory of all the Vaishnavas, of all the devotees, and see their amazing qualities. And there may be some weaknesses also. Don't worry about it. Not even worth bothering. Not even worth bothering to deal with it. But this person lies. Yeah, everybody does. It doesn't matter. It's like this person has already been captured by the absolute truth, is already, at least theoretically, accepting that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. That will go deeper. Surely, that person is already engaging in service, and that will go deeper. It will drive out these little anarthas, these little insignificant impurities. What's the point in criticizing someone who's under the shower? He's so dirty. He's under the shower. Right? It's not the time to criticize someone for being dirty. It's like... So, in that way, when we are in the process of devotional service, we become purified. So the Brahma Samhita is not different from Srimad-bhagavatam. That was the amazing feature that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recognized in the Brahma Samhita. The very same knowledge of Srimad-bhagavatam is summarized in the Brahma Samhita. Therefore, all the Vaishnavas did not just copy the Brahma Samhita, but were memorizing the Brahma Samhita. And for us also, the Brahma Samhita is essential. It's not just, oh, yeah, that's also one prayer we have, the Brahma Samhita. No, the Brahma Samhita is a very condensed explanation of Krishna Tattva. It is right there. Advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam ajam purana purusham novayoganamscha. Okay, we can just look at that. Advaitam. He's one without a second. That means, in scripture that's called asamurdva. Asamurdva means there's no one who is equal to Krishna. He has no equal. No one is his equal. He is one without a second. Advaita. Achyuta. He is infallible. He is perfect. There's no fault in Krishna. When we see a fault in Krishna, then our eyes are faulty. And we should get our eyes checked. Something is wrong. Get our eyes fixed. Because Krishna is faultless. Totally faultless. Like we saw in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita that Padmavati, the mother of Kamsa, was finding fault with Krishna in the residence of Vrindavan because she was less intelligent, something faulty with her intelligence. Krishna was not getting up because he had a headache. So everyone in the palace in Dwarka was tiptoeing because Krishna had a headache. Oh, Krishna had a headache. Everyone was very quiet. And then Satyabhama, being rebellious, she spoke up and she said, "What are we doing? All tiptoeing around Krishna has a headache. He doesn't have a headache. Satyabhama, please be quiet. Krishna doesn't have a headache. Krishna is simply overwhelmed by separation. Satyabhama, please, and by separation for whom?" Right? And then she came out with it for the gopis in Vrindavan. When Krishna's in the arms of his queen, Satyabhama, please. When Krishna's in the arms of his queens, he's calling out the names of the gopis in Vrindavan. He has no attachment at all. Satyabhama, he has no attachment at all to the queens. His attachment is all to the residents of Vrindavan. And then Padmavati speaks up and she says, the residents of Vrindavan, well, how could Krishna be attached to them? Look how they treated him. They would make him work, right? Vasudeva, he brought him there just, for shelter, right? Because his life was endangered. And then what did these rich Vasis do? They made him work. He was a prince. Krishna was a prince, and they made a prince work like an ordinary cowherd boy. They didn't understand at all how to treat him. And they sent him into the forest without shoes. Without shoes, can you understand? Sharp rocks and everything. By the way they treated him. What can we say? No. Krishna has Padmavati, please, now in a different way. Please, everyone hushed Padmavati as they forget it, Padmavati, stop this rubbish, you're going senile. So in this way, the residents were talking. So Krishna is a Vaitam, a Chutam. He has no fault. He's faultless. How can Bhagavati say that he has fault and that the residents have fault? They must be, she must be going Sina. Alright, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim. He is Anadim. He has no other origin than himself. See, in India, it is tradition to, when you fill out some form, you fill out a form and it says surname, first name, father's name. Father's name is always there. They always ask for father's name. Because when you ask for for the father's name, then you are asking about the family. And then you know something. In Africa also you can ask, South Africa, Xhosa, Zulu, Shuto, Swami, what is it, right? What are you, what I mean? And then immediately, okay, Sutta, I understand, oh, I see. As soon as you know someone's background, then you say, as soon as you know someone's father, you go, oh, I see. That makes sense. Now I understand. So, in this way, but in Krishna's name, in Krishna's case, no. He has a father, he does, but his father is not his origin. It's not that the father was there first. No, Krishna was first. Aham evasam eva gre manyan satasam param. Krishna is the origin. And then so he's the origin of the father. Of course, it all happens simultaneously. We are used in this world to think in terms of beginning and end. So we always think in a sequence of time. Yeah? But in the spiritual world, everything is ever present. We always think, the jivas, two categories of jivas, nitya siddhas, nitya baddhas, eternally liberated and eternally fallen living beings. So in the beginning there's these two categories. No, there's no beginning. That's the mistake when we think the beginning. There's no beginning. Right? It is like that. There are nitya siddhas, there are nitya baddhas, ever present, but there's no beginning of that. There's no point in time that we can. So and they change. Some nitya siddhas become nitya baddhas, some nitya baddhas become nitya siddhas. That's how it is. But when we think in a linear way, there must be a beginning. Then we start to think, okay, so then that means that maybe the nitya, that some are created as nitya baddha. No. Some are created as nitya siddha. No. There are just eternally nitya baddhas, nitya siddhas. There are eternally. Krishna's parents are there eternally. It's not that they were first. They were there. They're eternally there. It's no beginning. So in this way, Krishna does have a father, but his father is not his origin. Krishna is the seed-giving father. So in this way, Krishna is the origin of everything. Dvaita, Achyuta, Anadi. He has no other origin. Ananta, Rupam, he has unlimited forms. Ananta Rupam. Ajam Purana, he is the original, he is the oldest, and yet he is Novyovanam, he is ever fresh and young. So in this way, the Brahma Samhita is describing Krishna Another verse, Dipacireva hita santrama vipecha dipayate vivritehi samana dharma. Describe how from one light other lights can be lit, how Krishna is the origin of all the avatars. Another verse also, Nanavataram anyway, I can stop today. Many avatars are manifesting from Krishna. So, in other words, we should study the Brahma Samhita. We should memorize the Brahma Samhita if we can. I don't have such a super memory, unfortunately, that I've memorized the whole thing, although it's familiar. When it's chanting, I can follow it, but I couldn't go on off the top of my head. But it's also my laziness that I didn't practice it every day. If we chant the Brahma Samhita every day, then we will be able to memorize it. And if we chant every day the verses in the translation, then we will know it. And that is our greatest wealth. Therefore, for a Kartik Vrat, one might just take the Vrat to every day chant the Brahma Samhita. Sanskrit and English translations, just to develop more of a relationship with the Brahma Samhita. Because that relationship will give us a very sharp focus on how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. Thank you very much. Any questions? Any comments?
Last line of the purport.
The last line of the purport.
One has to wait for the mercy of the Lord before one can either render service or know Him as He is.
Right, you cannot just on your own render service to the Supreme Lord, so the mercy of the Lord has to come. And so the mercy of the Lord came. The mercy of the Lord came to our lives, and as a result, we're engaging in devotional service. Therefore, we should preach vigorously because all these people are waiting for the mercy of the Lord to come into their lives. And as devotees, we are the carriers of the mercy of the Lord. So, we may not have complete knowledge and may not have completely realized every aspect of that mercy. But meanwhile, whatever we have, we should share it with others. Because then we can also serve the Lord. But without getting that mercy, you can't just one day wake up and think, hey, you know what? I have this strange feeling, and it's interesting, I'm going to serve the Lord. It doesn't go like that. It comes by the mercy of the devotee. So, we need, and then we need more mercy of the Lord, and still more mercy of the Lord to come closer to Him. But we already got quite a lot, and the results are there. We did engage in devotional service. Some of us took initiation once, twice, and so on. Look at the amazing what happens when you get the mercy of the Lord. It's quite amazing.
I like the statement of refreshing our relationship with Krishna from moment to moment. So I was just wondering if you could talk about that.
If you can elaborate a little more. That we must refresh our relationship with Krishna from moment to moment. So, since we sleep at night, we become covered by ignorance. And in the morning, we shake off that ignorance by a shower. And then we put tilak, and refresh our relationship with Krishna. Om Kesavaya Namaha, and all the other mantras. And with each mantra we establish Krishna. Actually, we install him. So when you put the tilak on the forehead, when we do the tilak on the forehead, then we are installing Krishna on our forehead. He's right there. So this way, there's a temple on our forehead, and in 12 places the deity is installed. So this way, our body becomes a temple with 12 darshans. Yes. And we walk around like that. You could just stand, go away, look at the forehead, not at the eyes, the forehead. Go away. Worshipping your tilak, not you. In this case. Anyway, so we have a culture of reminding ourselves in many ways. Then one is meant to bow down, it says in Hare Bhakti Vilas, and recite the names of one's deities. One is meant to remember the names of the worshipable deities. Of course, you can just chant Hare Krishna. That's automatically doing it. One can recite prayers. So we see devotees in the morning, they recite prayers. Some recite Brahma Samhita. Get up, Vita, chant various mantras, or some chant Cheto Darpanam, chant the Ecstatic as they're getting up. So this is according to Hare Bhakti Vilas. So then we chant, we go to Mangalarti, we are chanting, worshiping Tulasi, all these things, Bhagavatam. So up to this time, we have all sort of tried to cultivate our remembrance of Krishna. Now it's 8:30, and we spent hours and hours since we got up in trying to cultivate again our remembrance of Krishna and refresh our remembrance of Krishna. Not just a little bit. Then throughout the day, we are now focused. Now in the morning, we've done a good dose of remembering Krishna. Now we can go out and battle with the material energy. And while we're battling with the material energy, we have that freshness to remember Krishna. But then, the material energy is intense. Slap in the face. Oh, that was heavy. Punch in the stomach. Oh, gosh, that was a heavy meal. Wobbling on the legs, I don't know how long I can stand up. Just 5 minutes to refresh, 3 hours later, and so on. The mode of ignorance creeps in, and so many things in the brain gets tired, so many impressions. At night, if you have to do some complicated thinking, you go, forget it, do it tomorrow. I'm cooked, I'm baked, I'm fried, brain dead, forget it. And ignorance is now setting in. And then at night we crash on the bed. Ignorance is bliss, and we sleep. And we didn't read Krishna book before we took rest. The Lord Prabhupada said we should at least for 15 minutes, but we didn't, of course. And then we sleep and covered in ignorance, and the cycle starts again. So throughout, we remind ourselves. So we chant Gayatri 3 times a day to remind ourselves of Krishna. So in many ways, we are trying to refresh. We're also trying to refresh by improving the quality of our service. We try to refresh our commitment to our service. We need to refresh all these things again and again. Okay, another question? Yes?
Indra, he enters the womb of Aditi and he basically cut up the embryo in the womb. So I want to know, as a Jiva living entity, how could he have entered the womb of Aditi?
How could Indra have entered the womb? Or
Aditi.
how could he have entered? Because he has so many powers, beyond powers. He is Indra. He has many great powers. So he's not limited as we are. So that just illustrates some of the great powers that Indra has. That's all. We don't have to ask how. We just stand there and say, wow, how much is Indra empowered? He can even do that. That's amazing. He even has the mystic power. Obviously, Indra has many mystic powers. And this is one of them. So that's not at all surprising, because he's Indra. So the demigods, they have so many mystic powers. They can make themselves invisible, they never touch the ground. They can read minds. Kali, for example, is described as being a celestial being. It's at the lowest of the celestials is Kali personified. And Kali can read minds. So we find described in the scriptures. So Indra can read minds, Indra can enter wombs, Indra can do all kinds of things. And there may be surprises. Don't be surprised when Indra will do something extraordinary. He's greatly empowered because he's an intimate agent of Krishna. And then he cut that embryo into so many pieces. And then these pieces, then new living entities entered into these pieces. And then they also became individuals. So that's also amazing. But yes, such things are all possible in the universe. As Shakespeare, as it said, there's more between heaven and earth than you and I know, or basically. So we see it like that. Anyone else? Another question? Turn the mic and speak in actually words. I didn't hear everything because you're moving your mouth.
Whenever Tilak is so the Lord for the body, and I was just thinking, being exposed to the sun, that the Tilak actually gets sunburned onto the skin. So I was thinking about the quality of one's practice. You know, we can get molded, even though every day we refresh, are supposed to be refreshing our relationship with the Lord. Our habits create a certain impression that can be good or bad.
That's a nice analogy. You know how the tilak gets burned on the skin. So even when there's no more, when you don't put tilak, you still have tilak. I have that problem when I go to Durban and I come from South Africa, because I'm supposed to go in disguise, but then I have a huge tilak burned on my forehead from the sun. And I'm sort of trying to look as if I'm Nami Yogi, but not convincing with that tilak. And Krishna protects us. But yeah, so in other words, the external culture of Krishna consciousness grows on us and we internalize it and it becomes part of us as we are defended. As we, in the beginning, we're practicing devotional service out of duty. It's said in scriptures, a duty. Later we do so out of love. And in that way it grows out of us, out of attachment. So it becomes one of us, or one with us, in this way, that we develop attachment, that it becomes our second nature, that we can never let it go. Like after chanting Hare Krishna for many, many years, it's not possible to not chant. To not chant one day is not possible. It's like, so that's the good thing, just keep on chanting. At one point it becomes a second nature. Then in the beginning it's like, that's the force, but at one point it's just like, it's automatic thing. 16 rounds is song, a minute is song as part of the day. There's no question of it not being there. It feels like strange. It becomes part of our nature.
And then I was also thinking, the verse said that without the Lord's mercy, we can't get devotional service. But
thanks. Likes should not.
But sometimes even when we do, even when not getting devotional service the way we envision, it's still the Lord's mercy because when He's trying to teach us.
Yes, that's true. I mean, the Lord may bestow His mercy upon us and we don't see it. We don't even notice it. Meanwhile, we're getting it. All living entities are getting the Lord's mercy, somehow or other. He's making arrangements for the purification of every living being in the material world. But then at one point, that mercy translates into that we start to notice the presence of the Lord. And ultimately, getting the Lord's mercy means that we begin to perceive the Lord in all His glories.
Thank you for your class.
Thank you. This is good. Okay. He really wants it.
I was just thinking in terms of trying to always appreciate the very service.
You were thinking mumble, mumble, jumble. You also turn the microphone up and we can understand you.
In terms of appreciating the very service, I naturally criticize internally. Is there some external practice we can do to have the habit of always appreciating?
No, negative thoughts have to be cut in the mind. So when we internally are criticizing, in thought, we look around and think, then we're going to poo. Then we look around and think, shoo. Look around and think, ho, ho, ho. All these kind of thoughts, right, internally, have to be checked internally. So negativity, negative thoughts, negative for spiritual life, have to be cut on the level of the mind. So then we have to correct it, say, come on now. Why are you doing this? We tell ourselves. Why are you doing this? This is not nice. You should see the good qualities of this devotee. So we should correct ourselves. And we make it a habit to correct ourselves internally. Then we get over it. And to train ourselves. Somehow or other, we are creatures of habit. Living beings, all living beings are creatures of habit. Because by nature we get attached. So we get attached. We do something in one day and in one way, and because of our natural inclination to get attached, we do it again in the same way. And in this way, we are creatures of habit. Now, so we can take advantage of that by creating positive habits. So we can, in that way, we can train ourselves. We can say, no, stop thinking negative about others, and whenever I catch myself doing it, I will correct it. I will say, stop this now. See the good in this person. Look how many good qualities this person has. In this way, we can train the mind, create a new habit. Thank you very much, Prabhupada.